What if I told you that back in April, Iran offered us peace? Now, there's some background information for this. Um, there's different levels of uranium enrichment for different purposes. You only need your massive uranium only needs to be about 3% enriched in order to create nuclear power. And to create nuclear bombs, you need it to be 90% enriched. Iran's nuclear facilities were producing uranium that could be 60% enriched. Back in April, they offered us a deal where they would have stopped enriching uranium past the 3% needed for nuclear power and given away all of their uranium that was more enriched than that to other countries where they couldn't touch it so that they could focus on a nuclear power program as long as the US could promise that no one would mess with them. In fact, their only demands of us were for us to allow them to sell their oil and to start doing our inspections again. And they would allow us to do scheduled and spontaneous inspections of their declared and undeclared nuclear facilities. This would make it fundamentally impossible for them to make a weapon. What they really want is nuclear power, like electricity. Now, we've been hearing mixed signals whether or not Iran ever really wanted to make a weapon. The 60% enriched uranium, now that I know more about that, is pretty scary to look at. However, our intelligence has said that they were not making a bomb. Iran has said they're not making a bomb. Israel has been saying that they've been making a bomb since like the 60s. But Trump has also been saying that they're trying to make a bomb. But let me tell you something about Trump. As of May 31st, his intelligence community has told us that he had only received 14 of his daily presidential intelligence briefings since the start of his presidency in January. He'd only received 14 of something most presidents receive daily. His director of national intelligence has told us, Tulsi Gabbard, that she was planning on perhaps styling the intelligence briefings to look more like a Fox News broadcast to A, actually get him to watch it because it would match his consumption habits, B, to get him to actually trust the information. Our president is in this position where he has hand-tailored, verifiable intelligence that only he gets, and he doubts it and doesn't listen to it. That's a scary position for us to be in, for him to be making decisions like bombing Iran. But there is something I want you to ponder for a second. If this attack was being planned and the intelligence community was keyed in on it and wanted to manufacture our consent for it, whether or not Iran was actually producing a weapon, they would have told us Iran was producing a weapon. The fact that they told us almost specifically that they were not producing a weapon tells me that his intelligence community and his military community were not on the same page for this operation. That is conspiracy and theory, but it's still concerning. So in the press conferences surrounding the attack, we've gotten info such as Iran still doesn't have 90% enriched uranium, even though now Tulsi Gabbard has changed her tune to say, even after the attack, that Iran is weeks away from a nuclear weapon. How is that possible if they completely decimated their, whatever. They said they were planning this for weeks. They said they were planning this for months. They said they were planning this for years. The conflict was only a week old at the time of the attack. I want you to think about something with me real quick. If we were planning this for years, is that why we didn't take the peace deal? Because we had too much pride to stop the project that would have hurt someone for no reason? I can totally see, considering our current president, how in a situation where peace was on the table, but there was people that have been planning months and years to not do peace, we would have too much pride to shut that project down. He also said that very few people in Washington even knew about this. He never informed Congress until the planes were on their way back, so they did not get congressional approval for this attack. But the key things was that he said that he didn't involved misdirection, and not too many people in the White House knew about it, which makes me wonder if he had even keyed in Tulsi Gabbard, his intelligence director, to the attack on Iran beforehand. Probably. He probably did. But a lot of things strike me as odd about how this is organized. My final tidbit of information: as of right now, according to yet unconfirmed information, the Tehran Times, an Iranian newspaper, I guess website, that's where I found it, has said that Israel is planning a attack on the U.S. that they were going to blame on Iran. Iran claims that they intercepted this information and passed it on to U.S. officials who prevented the explosion. Now, this hasn't not been confirmed or denied. What we can do is wait to see if this comes to light, and maybe get some more people talking about it, so they have more pressure to talk about it and bring this to light. That's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and stay a fan.